All right, we made it. The Grumpy Dungeon Masters are back.
I only had to call Craig twice, and he showed up.
Yeah, good job, Craig. He's getting better. We'll
Question
just
mark.
we'll, we'll just go with better.
He's got to be able to perform in a couple weeks, so he better be in tip top shape.
Oh, do we have something going on in a couple weeks?
Yeah, in 2 weeks. It is the Grumpy Dungeon Master's second anniversary, and I'm
Oh,
running a dungeon competition at Synergy Gamers, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm still working on the dungeon. Teams are still getting assembled, but there should be a couple teams and a couple DMs signed up to run it, and
cool.
basically teams will battle it out to see who gets first place, and I already got prizes for the first place winners, and it should be fun.
Yeah, I've seen the prizes. I like those. I really kind of want
Yeah,
one.
yeah, they are nice.
They are nice, and I would never even use it, but I still want one.
Fair enough. I got special dice coming in too that are commemorating the event.
Now I will get one of those.
Maybe
You can save me
you,
one.
you gotta show up and get it from the pot.
Yeah, can't do it. I will, however, delegate you to grab me one of them from the pot.
Delegate my ass. um, it should be good. It should be a lot of good fun stuff, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun time. I was talking to our buddy Jacob yesterday, because we got talking about just the D&D competition, and he's like, I don't know about competition in D&D. It just that didn't go over well. Yeah, and I get it. Um,
It's not a game meant for competition. I mean, I
it
mean,
is and it
miniature
isn't.
wargaming
Yeah.
is. Warhammer works for it. It's hard. It's hard to have PvP in D&D, and when people think competition, they think PvP.
Well, not
Like
not necessarily. Like, what you're running isn't PvP related at
yeah,
all.
but I've had to explain it a number of times. Like this is not
Really?
player versus player. Every
Oh,
single person I talk to is like, I don't know. I have to fight other players, and I have to choose pre-gens. It's like no, you're going to be going through a dungeon doing things like finding the traps and getting treasure get you points. The team with the most points at the end win.
yeah.
But a lot of people are immediately just going, "Oh, okay, so I have to fight another team." And a lot of competitions that people have been in that have been D&D related, turns out that a lot of it is like that. Like where a team
Yes.
will play through a bit of a tiny part of a module, and they may or may not win that part. They get treasures, and then they have to basically do it like a battle royale at the end.
Yeah.
And so far, everyone that I've talked to is assuming there's going to be some kind of PvP element, and I'm saying that no, there's not at all.
So when I first started playing D&D back in early '90s, I was introduced to both versions of it. And I've only ever played in one D&D tournament, and it was a PvP arena type thing. Everybody got a pre-generated character, and you would just fight other PCs, and it was fun. I had a good time with it. But
Yeah,
that's very straightforward. You have set rules as to what you can and cannot do, and fifth edition be even easier because there's absolutely just set rules with what you're able to do. You can
yeah,
make your attack, you get multi attack, you can do reaction attacks and so forth. Um,
yeah,
I never got to play in the other type, which is what you're effectively running, but I was very familiar with them because I had read about them. And it's the idea of you get four people, and the numbers can vary, but four people is generally what you want on a team with pre generated characters. And you run through a section of a dungeon. Basically, you play a one shot. I think in your case, you're doing 3 hours time limit.
4 hours.
Four
Yeah,
4 hour time limit. Okay, but you have a set time limit, and you have to successfully navigate as much of the one shot dungeon as you can,
yeah,
and doing certain tasks along the way, surviving certain threats net you points. And at the end of the thing, whoever has the most points is the victor. That's pretty straightforward.
yeah. But like I said, everyone else, I've had to explain that to pretty much everybody, and uh,
I guess they just hadn't. What
yeah,
the version you're running is? I don't. think people really do that much anymore, even though
Yeah.
that's the OG way of doing it.
Yeah. I just think it's unexpected. It's not a common thing. So
Yeah.
I I think this one may not be entirely successful because just it's weird. But once we kind of like show the results, I think people will be interested in it, and I can like release what the dungeon was, and people will read it and go, "Oh, this makes sense now."
Hmm.
The only person that's actually asked me about it I talked to was one of the DMs, and he's asked me like what kind of dungeon it was. I was being very vague, but it was kind of like, is it like funny ha ha all the time, or is it like a meat grinder? And like it's more of a meat grinder
Yeah,
dungeon than it
it
is
kind of
anything else.
in a
Yeah,
competition, that's what it's going to be. You need to
yeah,
run a meat grinder. You have to have threat to the characters. The monsters in it should play to full efficiency, which means actively trying to kill people.
yeah. Um, I thought about clarifying, like going after, like doing like killing blows on players. I didn't mention anything in the rules. I'm kind of leaving that up to the DMs to kind of like don't shy away from it, but at the
Yeah.
same time, don't the creature still wants to make sure it survives the combat, you know.
Yes. It's not
So
gonna. It shouldn't put itself at unneeded risk just to deliver a killing
yeah,
blow to a player.
right. So like there's that aspect, but a couple of traps like right at the start are okay. Now you're at half life. Okay, now you're
Uh,
dead. You know,
yeah.
start
Yep.
making death saves. And unfortunately, like I've been writing it, and I made this comment to some of her friends when we were playing video games. Like a lot of the stuff is like, okay, if I were to have this trap in a normal dungeon, they wouldn't die. They'd just be brought to 0 hit points and be bleeding out, and then you get a healing spell, and then keep moving on and be fine and just chugging.
Yep.
Um, but a lot of these traps are like, okay, if you reduce to 0, you're dead. And Tomb of Annihilation was built that way too. There's like a guillotine trap where
Hmm.
like it slices right through you. You take like 10d10 slashing damage, and if you're brought to 0,
You're
you're
dead.
dead. Yeah. So I want some of those, but I don't want all the traps to be like that. I want a lot of the traps to be very much like you're taking 20 damage, or it accumulates up, you know.
Yeah.
And like, it starts off at like I have one that starts off at I think 1d8 and eventually ends at like 80d8.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a lot of D8.
Well, yeah, but the whole idea is like you have to survive all this. There's a way to survive all it and take no damage, or you just eventually die to this.
Yeah.
But even if you do lose down in that case, like even if you do go down to 0 hit points, you're not dead. You're bleeding out. Now someone has the risk to go in and grab you, you
Yeah.
know. Are they now going to activate the trap in this room to save you?
Yeah. And then even then, you could obtain points just by getting farther through the trap.
Yeah,
You know, like if you don't die to the immediate effect of it, and it takes a couple of failures along the way, you're still gaining points for the team. So
yeah. So I haven't gone around to building the characters yet, but I have an idea that I'm going to take the very basic, like most popular classes for
mhm.
each of the classes, like the Battle Master Fighter, for example. I'm doing a human variant Battle Master Fighter.
Okay.
Like,
Honestly, what you should do, and this harkens back to old sort of basics of D&D, is you have one rogue, one fighter, one cleric, one wizard.
yeah,
Just
I wanted to give one of every class for 5e because some people like certain things, but you're going to have the very tanky fighter. You're going to have the very um, basic wizard that has like a little bit of everything.
yeah.
The rogue is probably going to be a thief.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
It makes sense.
And yeah, cleric probably healing.
Yeah,
Either healing or war, one or the other. That's just sort of what I would see making sense.
yeah. So it'll definitely be interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping a lot of teams sign up.
Yeah.
Um,
So if you guys are, where are you running this thing at?
Synergy Gamers in Charleston, South Carolina. Trying
So
to
if
get
you,
some
if
people to come out
yeah,
and play from other areas.
yeah, anybody who can make it down there. When is it? What date?
July 9th at 3 o'clock.
All right.
If you go to Facebook, and there's a post on the Synergy Facebook group and on the Grumpy Dungeon Master Facebook page that leads you to the event where you can get all the rules and event information and get signed up.
It sounds like a good time. I probably would never run it because I don't like running for people that I'm not close with. But I would play in that. I would
That
definitely show up and play in that.
that's a reoccurring thing that I've been seeing a lot recently
Hmm.
as almost like a problem. Okay, like I understand, like as a DM, I have a group of people that I like playing for. And then I do Adventures League, which stresses me out and it gives me a boatload of anxiety every single time I go out there and do it.
Yeah.
But now that the group is kind of like settled into the separate groups of people, it's the same people over and over again, and everything seems to be fine. Everything feels okay,
Right.
and so I know how the people react. But new players show up all the time. I just had a new player come out and want to play, very excited. And I mentioned to him, it's like, hey, if we have enough people to do a tier one table, I'll move you over there. If not, we have two tier two games that are playing right now. You can make a level five and bring it in. But I have to warn you that both of these games is pretty much the final game for both tables. One table had to fight a CR10, and they were like level 6. A CR10 boss when they don't have the MacGuffin to kill it, and they don't have um, the magic items that really do a lot of damage to it.
Right.
And the CR10 monster is basically this like master level Strahd vampire. Okay,
All right.
they didn't win. Two people died, like died, and two ran away.
All right.
So, and my game, from the choices the players had made up until this event, um, that were basically their decisions and a lot of role playing elements that happened. Basically, there's a player who has a phobia, and that phobia presented itself, and they smashed the phobia's head in with a giant two-handed war club, and then decided basically to do a triumphant roar that was enhanced with their thaumaturgy.
Yeah. While being in a
Ap-
location where you probably want to kind of be quiet.
right. And while they were tapped out of all their resources with like zero hit die left.
Yeah, like you've told me the situation, and I can't even disagree with how you handled it. Like
So
it's,
there was a chance that they could run away. There's an elevator in this place. I rolled a die to see how long the elevator would get. I rolled a 7, so it was going to be 7 rounds
oh
before they could get into the elevator and run.
yeah,
Um, and so they had to basically stay there and fight. And they did get the advantage of they had to funnel people in, you know, so not everyone could fit there. And they did a pretty good job. Unfortunately, the encounter is pretty much like, oh, here's a giant area with an obscene amount of creatures. The boss for the dungeon just happened to be randomly rolled there,
yep,
and it states in the Frostmaiden book that you pull other encounters if you're too noisy in this area. So I didn't foresee them being able to do anything but pull the other encounters. So they basically had to do like 6 encounters back to back to back
yeah. And my
without.
when I ran Frost Maiden, my players went through that same location, and even for them, it was pretty hairy. Like they did successfully manage it, but man, it was rough.
Yeah, my players when I ran through Frostbite was in the same spot. They pulled everybody again, but they were at least able to basically block themselves out and barricade themselves into a room that had no other entrances.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
my players
they
were able to deal with it in a 5 foot long 5 foot wide corridor, so they weren't
yeah.
really dealing with more than one or two at a time.
So they were able to get I think a short rest in before they took on everybody. So, and they weren't nearly as tapped as this group was. So unfortunately, they met their end. 7 players died completely, 100%. They have no money to resurrect themselves per the AL rules. So that campaign is now over.
All right, now you get to run some homebrew stuff.
Now we're running Baldur's Gate.
That's not homebrew.
AL doesn't run homebrew.
Oh well. Do you have any? Are there any people at Zenergy who run non-AL stuff, Adventure League stuff?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay.
There are a number of different groups that play different things.
Yeah,
Um,
because you started on this conversation. With me having mentioned that I really only
yeah,
kind of run for people who are close to me.
yeah.
And
I need to get back to that.
yeah,
So the problem is that I get that people who play Dungeons and Dragons aren't the most social people. Okay.
yep.
And I get that meeting new people and having to talk to new people and introduce yourself and become somewhat chummy with new people is the worst experience for you. And
For
I
a
am,
for a lot of people, that is the case. Yes.
yeah, and I am in that camp too. I I it exhausted me um, because I had to basically go out and do that same. I had to do that thing this Saturday. You know, when and if we get bigger, we can go to cons and like try to promote Grumpy Dungeon Masters more. That is a day that I have to like prep for, take a lot of rest for, and have a lot of recovery time for. I couldn't do. I was exhausted all day today just because I was so mentally drained yesterday. Just being, hey, how you doing? You want some free RPG stuff? Here, yeah, here it is. This is what we
Mhm.
do. Yeah, it's exhausting. So I get that, but I'm seeing more and more from a lot of DMs that they do not want to DM without people that are very close to them. And I understand that mentality. I don't want to
So
DM with some random stranger who I don't know nothing about and have them turn out to be a jackwad and then eventually cause problems for me in my little bubble.
so
And
my
I take
in
the risk with Adventure League with
yeah,
that every single time.
Adventure League
But
is you have no choice there.
well, I have no choice there, and it kind of forces me out of my little bubble.
Yep.
But everything else is pretty much said rules. I had someone come up to me and goes, "I want to play Adventures League. I want to play this." I'm like, "Okay, that works." He's like, "But I need these magic items to play it properly." Well, you can't have this. Like, well, I'm not going to play your game then.
All right.
Okay, you
Bye.
know, I don't care. Like, I don't want those people playing Adventures League. Um, but at the same time, like that's what Adventures League is. It's kind of like the group meetup for all the people who are introverts, and
Yeah.
it it, it is hard. It is draining. But a lot of people say like, I don't want to DM because I don't want to meet new people.
Here's the
Well,
thing. Okay, so let me explain my case. Because all of the friends that I currently play with, every one of them I met basically at a place like Zenergy. It was a local gaming store that's not around anymore, unfortunately. But it was me going up there. I'd play Magic on Friday nights, and then on Saturdays I'd go up there and sometimes play Magic. And after hanging out with a couple of different people up there, I'd start running D&D. And these aren't people I knew really well. You know, we weren't really close friends, but we had played some Magic together or whatever. It's in a public space, and it was a situation where, oh, there's two other people who just want to jump in this game. Come on, join us. I don't know you. Jump on in anyway. Uh, I haven't had to do that in 6 years now, 5 or 6 years, I think. So I've just been running for this one little group. If my situation ever changes where I don't, if I move or something like that and I don't have a D&D group, my ass will go right down to whatever the local gaming store is and find new people.
yeah,
And I have no problem DMing for people in public spaces. And, I'm just in a situation now where I don't have to do that. And
yeah.
it's really nice.
But that mentality has I've seen it occur with a number of different DMs
Mhm.
where they will outright say to me, "It's like, oh, I don't want to DM for Adventures League. I don't like to DM with people I don't know." Or I'll be like, hey, people want to have a game set up for like Sunday. It doesn't have to be Adventure League related. That there's people who want to play on Sunday. Would you want to DM for them? Because you came to me and said you want to DM for a table, and then you turn around and say, "Well, I don't want to DM for people I don't know."
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're kind of just like shooting yourself in your own foot. Then, if you're a DM looking for players, I can guarantee you that there are a plethora of players in your area, wherever you may be. I definitely know there's a ton of people in Charleston that want to play D&D,
Yep.
and just they don't have people to play for, And I know that the players also have to be understanding in that same regard too. Is like if a DM wants to come in and play fifth edition, then play fifth edition. So many people I have seen also recently too, like I want to play Starfinder.
I want to play
Okay,
third edition. I want to play this. I want
yeah,
to play Pathfinder. Well, get over it. Sometimes you have limited options as to what you can and
yeah.
can't play.
If you want to play Starfinder, you got to find a DM for Starfinder. But you can't force a DM to play Starfinder, especially if they don't want to play Starfinder.
Yep. I mean,
And
yeah.
you're not going to get a good game out of it.
Yeah, fourth edition is the last edition of D&D I would ever consider playing. But if I'm in a spot, middle of nowhere, and there's one person who's willing to DM, and all I do is fourth edition, all right, fuck it, let's do some fourth edition. It might not be my preferred choice, but if it's what you got, it's what you got.
Yeah, there was one guy that's moving into the area that posted in one of the Charleston groups, um, and they played some kind of weird old vampire system.
Vampire the Masquerade first edition or something.
No, I'm seeing if I can't find it here quickly enough.
Oh, okay. I
Um,
mean, yeah, with Charleston's a big enough place, you should be able to find most games, or at least somebody willing to run and or play most systems.
yeah,
Where I live at, man, it's there's a number of D&D players around here, and we do have a local gaming store, at least. But if I was trying to say find somebody running Vampire the Masquerade, I might have a hard time.
yeah. It was some like V5 or something like that. I can't remember. I can't find it. And like people, oh, I want to play that system. That system's great. Oh, I remember playing it years ago. La. And like no one's like, okay, put a group together, guys. you're almost there. Just meet up in the middle and
Yeah, if you have a whole bunch of people who want to play and somebody who understands the system, you got everything you need right there.
yeah. But I'm just seeing a lot more negativity too, just around DMs who are very choosy and picky about the players that they get. And I understand that you definitely want to be. You don't want to have bad players.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, some
but
of the players in my group were pretty awful when I started DMing them.
yeah,
Like there were problem players, and I've been playing with them for 5 or 6 years now, and I've managed to convert them into being good players.
yeah.
Most
I
people, if they stick around, they can learn to be better at it.
I've also had a lot of parents come to me and go, "Hey, I'm looking for a game for my kid." And we can't find a DM that will DM for a 12, 13, or 14-year-old.
I get that.
And I can understand that as well too. But I will say in my personal experience, okay, I have not had a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old show up at my table and be anything but as good as they could be.
Sure.
And yeah, granted that they don't have the full thought process a young adult or adult would have. Uh, but that age, that range at 12 to 15 range, you get a lot of kind of like they can't make a decision fast enough, but
Mhm.
they're 13.
I know
But they
adults
always
like
they
that who
always
can't make
make
decisions fast enough.
fair enough. But they always do make a decision, but they take the game seriously enough because they had to convince their parents to come out here. It's something that they sought out their parents to do. So they've had to basically earn this chance to go out there and play. And they're not going to go in there and wreck it. Would I just have like this 13-year-old show up out of the blue going, I want to play, and just be annoying until he got to play? No. But if someone's like, hey, I want to play, no one will let me play for them because I'm 13, I'm going to have them at my table. Because I
Yeah.
haven't had a bad experience. And even if I do have a bad experience, one or two bad kids isn't going to ruin it. Those kids want to be there, they want to play, and they just need to be treated like someone else who wants to play. And yeah, you can't have a rated R table, but normally I don't.
Yeah,
So
in general, mine's pretty friendly.
PG
I might
13, yeah.
yeah, like it's PG-13 for the most part, other than some foul language occasionally. But That,
I will say, anything younger than that, I've had problems with
mhm.
because the attention span of a child just isn't there.
Yep.
And they always want to do the crazy fun, horrible things. Like, are you sure you want to stab the chief sheriff of the warlord band
Yeah.
that you're in the back? Yep. Okay. You
Yep.
you died.
Oh, look, let me say, we still get that whether it be kids or adults. So I was running my game this weekend,
Yeah.
and I have already I have an NPC that my players hate, and that was intentional. They were supposed to hate him. And but he's nobility, and they were having a large meeting with all of the nobles gathered. There was a whole bunch of bad shit that was about to go down. But that noble was not truthfully involved in the bad shit going down. He was just there as sort of a witness to everything. And my players were all they positioned themselves to basically kill his wizard that protects him and hopefully deal with him as soon as the stuff hits the fan. And
Hmm.
shit hits the fan. He casts a darkness spell. One of the players tries to counterspell it. The wizard counterspells him. So the darkness spell goes off, and the guy has magic items that lets him get out. He can basically shadow walk if there's shadowy areas. So the noble gets the fuck out of there. They start attacking the wizard, who then dimension doors out. Then all the other shit that's going on kind of finishes up. So
Yeah.
they tried to basically murder a noble NPC while surrounded by a whole bunch of other nobles and soldiers and guards and everything, just fucking in public. And nothing's probably ever going to come of this because of all the other shit that was going down right then. But like players will still, even long-term experienced players will try to do some fucked up shit.
Yeah. But I mean, I but when like an 8-year-old kid does it, they're doing it because
Because they're eight, yes.
because they're 8.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're
There's
just
no
different.
thought process to it. It's just I want to kill the peasant because the peasant is standing there.
Yeah. I mean, first timer players always do like, oh, I'm a rogue. I want to steal and pickpocket
Yeah,
everybody.
yep,
That that always happens. But like you learn eventually. But the 8-year-old doesn't. That's the difference.
yeah,
But the 13-year-old that's there, they make an attempt. They make an honest to God attempt because it took them a while to get there. You know,
yep,
it's a reward for like probably being good and cleaning the room. So I don't want to like turn them away either. I'm like, you want to play you're going to be the next generation of players. So let's hook you in now.
yeah. For me, I'm not opposed to having somebody who's 12 or 13 at my table. If they're that young, I want their parent there, and I would prefer their parent be in the game. But
I do that. I do make sure that I talk with the parents before the game happens, and I always invite them to play. Um, at very least, I need to talk to them. About
oh,
hey,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
this is what's going to happen. This is going to be a PG-13 game. Blah blah blah. And so far, I've never had a parent go, "Yeah, just take him for 4 hours. Just go."
You're babysitting now.
I mean, yeah, but again, none of those kids have ever been bad.
Yeah, I mean they're
Again,
showing up to play a game that they want to play in
yeah,
public. Yeah. I would not expect that. Now, it's like you said, a younger kid, they're going to be too ADD to focus or pay attention. But a kid who actively asks their parent to take them down there to do something, they're going to do it to the best of their ability.
yeah. And like I said, they may have struggles with the game, but who doesn't?
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I've been playing this game forever, and I still mess up rules constantly. So,
Yep. So I mean, it is what it is, and like I said, the DMs have just shunned those kids and turned them away. Why? Just why? Like
yeah.
I get it, but come on.
Like if your
Yeah,
group is full, I get it. If you're running like a hard R-rated game or something, I get it. But in general, except somebody who's a little bit younger, teach them how to play it right, and sooner or later, I mean, you might have a long-term player on your hands who wants to be a part of your game forever. So
yeah. There was a younger lady that came out and played like one of the first Scared Ring Dragon days, and then when I started Adventure League, she showed up for that, and she's a constant player in all the games now,
Mhm.
and she's really gotten into the game, and she helps people make their characters when they show up. Yeah, she's still a young kid, but the love for the game is there, and it drives them to be better and play the game better. So it's not like
Yep.
it's not a bad thing. It's not the curse that all the DMs seem to dread that it is.
Yeah, don't be those
And
assholes running that Warhammer game who are like, you need to have 4 years of experience playing this game before you can join us.
I saw something on Twitter because people were complaining about that again because there's another rush of people of companies that want people to be hired on with new technologies asking for 10 years. It's like
Oh,
this
yeah,
came out
yeah, yeah.
last year, and the best. So this was kind of like a sum up of all that. It's like seeking virgin for position must have 2 years of sex experience. Like,
Yeah, it's the same thing.
yeah, he kind of nailed it right there on the head.
Yep.
Um, and one of them was like for some new cloud technology. It's not even out yet. It's supposed to come out next year. What they want 5 years experience and a prototype technology. It doesn't exist yet. So
Yeah, I've seen the memes of that plenty of times, and it's unfortunately it's truthful, and it also does count for gaming. Just because somebody doesn't have years of experience, yeah, the only way they're ever going to get it is for somebody to accept them into the group and to teach them. That's
yeah.
the only way.
So
Uh,
all I'm saying is, if you're a DM out there and don't shy away the younger crowd, you know, um, talk to their parents if they're too young,
yeah. Well,
and
just in general, don't shy away from the inexperienced crowd.
yeah, and
You
just
know,
if it doesn't affect your schedule and it's not taking your time out of it, if you want to DM for people, just DM for people. Yes, find a group, make it small, ask around, set up a group,
yep.
and just play the game and have fun.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and be miserable and say, "Oh, I don't have a table. I can't find anybody." And then when I go, "Hey, I got 5 people that want to play every single day. Just pick a day that's best for you," and go, "Well, I don't know them, so I'm not going to play for them."
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
that's on you. You're just making your own life miserable.
Yeah, I'm sort of going through something similar to that currently. So, yeah, I've had the same group of players, group party of 5, and I've had them for 5 or 6 years. My buddy Mike got married last year, I think it was,
I'm sorry.
and no, his wife's awesome, but she's never played D&D. She is a bit of a geek. She loves anime and manga stuff like that, but D&D's it's outside of the ballpark, and she's wanting to learn. Now, me and Johnny, we're both currently running long-term campaigns. Yeah, my players are ninth level. We're 12th level in Johnny's game, and I definitely would not want to bring a brand new player into something like that. So what we're doing is every time we run a one shot, she gets to play in that. And because you can't really mess up, you can't do things wrong in a one shot. So we're sort of teaching her the ropes through that. And then whenever we wrap up our campaigns and start a new one a new fresh campaign, at that point she'll probably get to join in full time. And
Yeah.
it gets her a little bit of experience along the way.
Yep, that's good.
It's an easy way, I think, to sort of handle it. Get somebody
Another
new interested in it.
Yeah, and another good way of getting people interested in role plays is free RPG day.
Yes, free RPG day, which should be coming up soon, I think.
Was this Saturday.
Really? God damn it. Well, I will have. Nobody even told me. I'll have to swing by my gaming store, see if they have anything left.
So I contacted Synergy a couple months ago saying, "Hey, free RPG day is coming up. Are you guys doing it this year?" And they're like, "What's free RPG day?" And I was like, "Oh my god."
Wow. I mean, I've only known about it for the past 2 or 3 years. So.
Well, it's been around for much longer. They also do free comic book day, the same
Yeah,
organization.
no, I know Free Comic Book Day. I remember that from years ago.
So I got Synergy to participate in free RPG day this year. there's actually a couple stores in the area that actually did it, and one that always does it did it again, and Synergy did it, and I basically promised to show up this Saturday and DM a game for anyone that wanted to play any of the modules for free RPG Day. I said it that way, and I regretted it because I knew there's some Pathfinder stuff in there, and I've never played Pathfinder, so I was hoping not to do that. But I was able to get the all the free RPG stuff. I kind of wanted to go through it real quick.
Yeah, let me know what I
Because
can go. Let me go find out what I can
there's
pick up. Hopefully.
there was one called the Curse of the Dread Marsh Crew, which came with a battle map, a token board, and a small adventure. Um, and the company I think is Loke Battle Mats. Okay,
Loke
uh,
battle mats.
Loke, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if they just sell battle mats and then like a small adventure that goes with it, but that was really good. Um, it's a 5e system, but battle mats kind of work for everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
There's another company. Uh, I think they're just called Epic Encounters from Steamforge Games. They have a brand line called Epic Encounters. So what Epic Encounters is they sell miniatures, but they'll sell you a big fuck off miniature. Like here is a Balrog, and
Okay.
here's the encounter to run the Balrog. Okay, so they put out the Epic Encounter of Bridge of the Durgar Cult, and I love Durgar, so I immediately picked that one up. I'm
Of
like, this is
course
the
you
one
did.
I'm gonna run. And we'll get back to this one later because I have some fun stuff to talk about on that one. Um, also included was a RPG anthology book that has a bunch of compiled ninth level games for people to kind of play, like different games at different levels. It's a couple pages each.
Okay.
I really haven't had a chance to go through it, but it's just small, like little tiny encounters you can run through with a group. It was kind of neat.
Yeah.
Then there was a tabletop. A tabletop is called Homeworld Revelations. It was a quick
Oh.
start
Okay.
guide to running that. It's like a space themed.
Are you not familiar with Homeworld?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so I am. This is me assuming that the RPG is related to the video game. Homeworld is a strategy video game that came out more than a decade ago. Man, it was really popular
Hmm.
back when it came out. Basically, the idea was you have your ship is just a whole society of people live on the ship, and you're basically going from one point. I think you're trying to find your home world, and
Okay.
it was really really cool sort of simulator game with really interesting combat. But I'm fairly sure that's what it's going to be about. I unfortunately never really got to play the game back then, so.
Well, this one was this quick start guide came with a bunch of character sheets, and it's made by Mophidius,
Mhm.
Modiphius. It's a company. It's over in
It honestly, it sounds
Sweden.
familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the ones that made Dune,
Oh, they do
and
Fallout, Star Trek, Conan.
yes,
Okay.
that's their system. It's the same D20 D6 system that they use.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
that's what they gave this year
Oh,
was
yeah.
just
That's
like
that's
little.
why I know it because I bought the damn Dune book.
Um, then there was I believe there was a paint set given out with an Necropolis, and you could basically. I didn't get a Necropolis or the minis, but basically it's a how-to guide on how to paint necropolises and undead army men, and then how to make undead looking trees that you would find like in a graveyard or whatnot. Just a how-to guide, which is really neat.
Yeah.
Definitely
Okay.
useful for.
Yeah. The Homeworld role playing game is tied to the video game. So.
Okay, but it's neat. It's kind of a little more of an advert, but just it has the how-to guide, like how to make spooky spider webs on your trees and shit.
Okay.
Um, then there was an adventure called the Three Wizards Compendium, or sorry, Three Wizards Conundrum. It
Okay.
was a level 3 module by Goodman Games. That was the other one that I read. All the drawings inside and all the maps are basically first edition, second edition art style.
Oh.
So It was really cool. I think Goodman Games also published a Dark Tower, um, basically like little supplements for Dungeons and Dragons. The Dark Tower is their other brand name.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I thought you were talking about the board game, or
yeah, no, not the board game.
The Stephen King book series.
Uh, the Dark Tower is the only non-TSR module to ever make Dungeons Magazine's cut as one of the greatest D&D modules of all time, and so they keep
Wow.
putting out more Dark Tower stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, it's all drawn in that old 1E 2E
Yes.
type.
Yeah. My favorite style of art for sure, especially when it came to dungeons.
Yeah. So the next one, and this is something that might interest a lot of people, was the Cyberpunk Red tabletop game, and this is based off of Cyberpunk, the game that just came out.
Yeah, yeah. I am familiar with Cyberpunk Red. I looked into it when Cyberpunk 2077 came out.
So it has a map in the center. I think this was put out by CG Project Red and Talsorin Games. I think they're the ones that do the main thing. But it's like the quick starters guide, how to do everything. Like I said, big map in the center.
Great. I
Um,
mean, I love maps.
yeah, I love maps too.
Is it a map of the city, Night City?
No, it's a battle map. It's like a,
Battle map.
a
Okay.
factory, yeah,
Okay.
battle map. But they have a Night City in the front, so that was
Awesome.
interesting. Then comes the obligatory Starfinder and Pathfinder modules.
Yep.
Always good. The Starfighter one looks cute. There's like these weird six-armed, two-legged creatures. I don't know what's going on in there. It was cute,
As you know nothing about Starfinder,
as I know nothing about Starfinder or
I've only
Pathfinder.
ever I've looked through the book because I was looking for a sci-fi RPG a while back to run, but ended up just running the Star Wars one.
The other thing that came out they had was something from Privateer Press called Iron Kingdoms, which I believe is
Oh
based
yeah,
off. That's a
yeah,
Warhammer-like game,
yes,
but they have an RPG version of it too.
yes they
Now I've
do.
always wanted to play this, and we were going to at one point in time, but just never got off the ground.
Yep.
Because like I really like this setting. The setting looks very interesting. It's like fantasy, cyberpunk, arcane magics, and
Yeah,
giant machines.
it's steampunk. Like it's
Yeah,
straight up steampunk. I was scheduled to play in a game of it a few years back, and like you said, it never got off the ground. I had made a goblin grenadier, so yeah, I would chuck potions and grenades and stuff at things. But unfortunately, I never got to play it. I do own the Iron Kingdoms board game, however, and I have played the miniatures game a couple of times. I had a army. I don't remember what it was. It was a bunch of druids, but I got rid of that a few years ago.
there was another thing from Goodman Games called Crawl Classics, which is something I've seen before. It's just they take classic dungeon things and kind of like make them a little goofy. This is a level 0 module, but again, same art style, same first edition, second edition art style, and kind of just more like role play your way through it
Yeah.
than anything else. It was kind of neat though. Um, wouldn't mind working for them either. And then something that I never heard of at all. It's by Magpie Games and Leader Games. It's called Root, the role playing game. This is its own system. I haven't looked into what the system is
This
or how it's
this
done,
also sounds familiar to me.
but it's kind of like cutesy woodland creatures running around doing stuff. Um,
Okay, I have seen the book before, is why I recognize it.
but
Oh, this is yeah, it looks like a fun little kids game.
it's not really kids game. It does look like it is a kids game, but it's
The art, it may or may not be, but the art
yeah,
style, it definitely screams that.
it's not a dark game. But I want to read you the characters that they have here. The first one that they have that you could play is uh, Phineas the Champion, who is a pug that uses a pole axe. Okay.
All right.
Then we have Saga the Chronicler, who is like another dog type, um, who's like a mage. And then we got Shireen the envoy, who's like a bat. Okay. Then we have the best one. This is a bunny. Now picture a bunny.
All right,
A
got a
bunny
bunny.
wielding a giant two-handed war club
Okay.
with these brown fur with just these big, huge eyes that are staring you down with death. His name is Jurgen the Heretic.
That's actually really cool. Yeah, I'm on their website right now, and I'm just looking at the art at the top of the page. It's magpiegames.com. I just want to say there is a cat standing on two legs, wielding a knife, wearing a trench coat, and it's wearing a pumpkin mask. This is like the most horrifying thing I can think of. Like it's
That's,
straight, yeah, it's terrifying. If I saw that in the woods somewhere, I would run. I would just run away.
it's definitely on my list to look at later. So that was like all the role playing games they came out with. There was a pop figure like those knockoff pop figures that they have everywhere. There was
So
something for that for
not an actual pop figure, but a
yeah
knockoff.
yeah, but it was for the Pathfinder goblins, and the one I picked up was for a goblin called Bird Puncher. So I had this grayskin goblin named Bird Puncher, and it comes with like a bunch of weapons. You can swap out his arms and give him different weapons and shit. He's got like a two-handed spear, two-handed poleaxe, and like a sword. But the what I gave him though is he's wielding this giant, Acme bomb
Oh,
in
that's
one hand and a pickle in the other hand.
what in the hell? And
I know.
so wait, he comes with a pickle.
Yeah. It looked like a piece of goblin shit. I was like, oh, is this shit? No, it's a pickle.
Oh my goodness.
So he's wielding a bomb and a pickle.
Named Bird Puncher.
Yeah.
I what I want to do is I want to know who actually played that character. Because
Not just,
somebody came up with this character and ran it at some point. And then
oh yeah.
yeah, they probably work for that company.
Um what else do they have? Like so like yeah, for that painting kit they had you actually got like the tomb thing to paint. There was a bunch of free dice, mystery dice. So I have like a miniature set of dice now. Um, and a D6 from an upcoming dice set release that's like street signs, like Road Warrior Apocalypse street signs. You
Mhm.
can't tell what the number is on the D6, but they look like street signs. And then surprisingly this year, and this they should definitely do this more. Dungeons and Dragons has a line called Nulzor's Marvelous Miniatures, and it's a
Okay.
paint kit. So you pick it up, okay, and in this paint kit there is a miniature, all the paints that you need. There's a QR code on the side that when you hit that, it brings you to a video that teaches you how to paint and in what order to use the paints in to paint the figure.
Okay.
My wife and I went through and made a zombie ogre, and we painted it through halfway before stopping.
Yeah,
Um,
before your ADD kicks in and like I've
yeah,
had enough.
but it's really good. So like if you're interested in painting, the kit comes with everything, and you get a miniature out of it. There's a how-to video. They actually had a Haragon, the one that's pictured like all over Wild Witchlight, the one with the poleaxe.
Mhm.
It's a limited edition Haragon variant of him, where he's wielding a bow and arrow.
Okay.
So you go through and how to paint that. And there's only like 4 or 5 per big box. So I was able to snag one of those as well. So I get to paint that Haragon. And they really need to do this because those paint kits are a lot of fun. And like if you ever like kid wants to learn how to paint minis, like that's probably the first thing I would suggest is doing
Yeah.
that.
It's
So you don't have
basically
to buy
paint
the
it's
paint,
yeah, it's paint by numbers,
the miniature.
except for miniatures. Yeah.
So there was a couple other things that were definitely misses. Um, well, this next thing's not a miss. This next thing is like a pamphlet that they hand out called a familiar problem, which was created by Marsha Ray and designed by Grant Howlett. It's for Critical Role. I guess they ran this on Critical Role. I know nothing about this at all.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this one.
But it's part of their Tal'Dorei campaign and put out by Darrington Press. So if you're into Critical Role, they have something there that's basically this one-shot, a familiar problem module that you can run. I know nothing about it, but there were a lot of people who were very interested in this when I picked it up, and they were trying to explain it to me, but I had no idea.
I mean, there's a ton of D&D players because of Critical Role.
Right. And so what I was super interested in, and the thing I was looking forward to the most was Renegade Game Studios is another RPG maker that is licensed by Hasbro to make RPGs.
All right.
Okay, they're under the Hasbro brand. They're the ones that handle the current G.I. Joe, Power Rangers, and Transformers RPGs.
All right.
And in this kit this year, there was going to be the Power Rangers role-playing game, Transformers role-playing game, and G.I. Joe role-playing game. And first thing I grabbed. First thing. Transformers role-playing game starter thing, I want to know more. When you get there and you pick it up and you open it up, it's just a binder.
Well, at least you have a nice binder.
I do have a very nice binder for a role-playing game I'll never get to play.
Well, why won't you? You can just pick it up later.
Yeah, but I thought this was going to be a starter kit or some shit.
Well, it's a binder for when you get the actual role-playing game.
And there's a QR code on it. I mean, I just scanned it right now to see where it brings me to.
Didn't even bother to do it before the podcast. Just like, let's see what happens while we're recording this.
It brings me to a pre-order where I can pre-order the Transformers role-playing game.
Oh, there you go.
If I pre-order the Transformers role-playing game core rulebook, I'll receive a free PDF.
You know good and damn well you're getting the collector's edition with all the super secret dice and everything else that's going with it.
No, they just have a game bag.
There'll be more. Just give it time.
Transformer D20 set.
Let's see.
Ooh, deluxe rulebook.
Mm-hmm.
My Little Pony, the role-playing game.
Oh yeah, you didn't know about that one?
I thought
yeah, I was about to say. I think we talked about that one a long time ago.
I was just really disappointed because I thought there was going to be something with that, and there isn't. And
I did find out that they actually have G.I. Joe novels that they've written.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I'm buying a lot of the whole D&D novels. Like I'm trying to get a complete collection of all of them, and in the process, I'm seeing a lot of other books that were out there. Like there were Predator novels that I never knew about. They did Alien novels, and not Predator versus Alien, but just completely separate. Not even about the movies specifically, just separate stories. I actually found a complete set of Underworld. Do you remember that movie?
I love Underworld.
Yeah, well, they made 4 books of it too.
Really?
Yes, I got them all. I'll gladly sell them to you.
But I can't see Kate. What's her face? And
she's on the cover.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Because when I saw those movies, that's the age I was in.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
I don't know. Right now, I would watch those movies just for shit. What's that actor's name that played Davy Jones?
Oh, I have no idea. You're talking about you're talking about from the Turtles movies?
No.
Well, Davy Jones.
That's Casey Jones.
Oh, my bad.
Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, that guy. Okay.
Yeah, he played the lead vampire, the elder vampire, and like just the entire time.
Yeah, the old man who was awesome as shit and terrifying in those movies. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd watch a movie for him now.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, if they could write it and get it, they did.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many novels out there, and a lot of them I just keep picking up because I'm getting them for like $1 a piece or something. So
yeah, there was one monster I wanted to kind of read off to you real quick.
Sure. And then I'm going to bitch about counterspell for just a minute.
So this was in the Epic Encounters bridge of the Duragar cult. Okay. And these are Duragars from like 5th edition with a couple of tweaks here and there, but nothing too
I
crazy.
mean, as long as they're not throwing flaming beard spikes, it's fine.
So they have the standard Duragar, that's straight out of 5th edition. Okay.
Yeah.
But he has 26 hit points instead of 22.
Oh,
They have a
beefy.
Duragar priest, which is cool. It's a nice little variant. It's just a priest.
Yeah.
And then they have this Duragar king, who has a cool special ability called Death Blow. During his first attack every turn, the king has advantage on attack rolls against any creature who hasn't moved already that turn. Any hit the king scores via this first attack counts as an automatic critical hit.
All right.
Challenge CR8. And of course, he can enlarge. He has 3 attacks with the rune axe.
And invisibility,
Yeah. So 1d12, so basically a 2d12 slashing, and then like they have to make a con save, and there's an additional force damage on top of that. Pretty badass Duragar, if I don't say. He was crafted pretty well. But there was one called the Duragar Berserker.
All
Okay.
right.
So pretty much it's just it's a CR2 monster versus the standard Duragar CR1. So it has a 14 AC because, Berserker. Has 39 hit points, same speed, senses, languages. Stats are pretty much the same, a couple more points in strength. Has a Duragar resilience, has the sensitivity to sunlight, and then it has a special ability called Frenzy. Whenever Berserker makes a successful attack roll, it may make a second attack as a bonus action. It may only make one such free attack.
Yep.
Okay. Then it has its actions. Okay. Action 1, multi-attack. The Berserker makes 2 attacks with its War Pick. War Pick, melee weapon attack, plus 4 to hit. Reach 5 feet. 1 target, hit, 1d8 plus 3 piercing damage while enlarged.
Okay.
That is the end of the Duragar Berserker stat block. You should note that in its action section, it does not have the ability to become enlarged. It also does not have the ability to become invisible. So all these things that the Durgars can do, enlarging and invisibility, are not a part of the Duragar Berserker stat block.
Is it is that a misprint?
I think so.
It has to be.
But then even so, when you look at War Pick for the Duragar, it says plus 4 to hit, reach 5 foot, 1 target, 1d8 plus 2 piercing damage, or 2d8 plus 2 piercing damage while enlarged. Duragar always has that. It has this is what you do if you're not enlarged, this is what you do if you are enlarged.
Yeah, and
but
on
for the Berserker,
it's 1d8, just 1d8 plus
just
3.
1d8 if it's enlarged, but it can't enlarge because it's not a part of its actions.
Yeah, somebody screwed the pooch on that one. That's just that's misprinted to hell.
I know. I loved it. I catch those all the time, especially given my history as being a technical writer.
Yeah,
those stand out real bad, and I feel bad because this is you're trying to sell your company to people.
I know,
and,
right?
That's the Duragar Berserker that they get.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, for a small company who's trying to progress in the gaming industry, man, that's a bad look.
But it happens.
Yeah, it happens, but that's a
happens.
pretty big one though, because you're trying to create something new, and that's like, how does that even get overlooked? Every other one on that list has enlarge. Every other one has the bonus damage from being enlarged, and then on the one, because they added, like, the Berserker is a thing, but it's, there's no stat blocks for it, so you're throwing this thing out there, man. You need to be on it.
Yeah. So I found that funny. I will say though, the art for the Duragar Berserker is it's a female Duragar wearing the scale mail, okay, with the Duragar face belt buckle, this white-haired mohawk, and these 2 war axes, okay.
Yep.
And so it's funny that
Sounds
they're
very
calling them
third.
war
Sounds
picks.
yeah, yeah. War picks with the war axes and the artwork. I haven't seen it, but it just sounds like something I would have seen in third edition. I like
Oh, it's fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah.
the mohawks and everything.
Yeah. Um, so I found that funny. And like I mean, it happens. But the thing is, like, there's no other place on the page where they could have put it. Um, there is a spot that they could have like shifted around things and made space for it on the next page, but I don't know, it happens, and
Yeah,
it's a pretty easy fix. They have enlarged, and they do 2d8 while enlarged, and they just destroy everything else really.
yep,
But you can't say you kind of just want them to like just be better.
yeah, yeah. I mean, not much more to say about it. Yeah, just do better.
Plus, there's a weird inconsistency that I noticed going through the Morning Canaan's book because I was playing a lot of Durgars recently, um, and I've kind of always done this as kind of like a homebrew thing. But let me get the Monsters in the Multiverse out. Go straight to my bookmark. That goes straight to the Durgars. So I need to go back and look at this, but the Duragar Despot doesn't have enlarge. The Duragar Cavalranchi does not have enlarge either. The Duragar Mindmaster has reduce as a bonus action.
Oh yeah, I know they do.
The Duragar Soulblade has enlarge as a bonus action. The Stone Guard has enlarge as a bonus action. The Warlord has enlarge as a bonus action. The Zaron has enlarge as a bonus action. The Hammer does not have enlarge. It's the construct, really. The Screamer doesn't have enlarge. It's also a construct. But the base Duragar has enlarge as an action. And I remember we talked about it in the podcast a long time ago and how like I don't
Yeah,
use enlarge as an action because really if you just compare them to a bugbear at the same CR, you know, the Durgar hits twice as hard. Sorry, the bugbear hits twice as hard, but the Durgar has to enlarge first to hit at that same level. So I've always just kind of treated the enlarge effect as part of like a bonus action. And it's just weird because in Morning Canyons, they all have their enlarging and reducing as part of a bonus action. So I don't know if that's like something they change for Monsters of the Multiverse. I really can't double check, but that's how I treat enlarges and reduces. That's just how it is in Morning Canyons now.
yeah.
So I just
I,
thought I just noticed that, so I thought I'd point
I
that out.
need to go and look. I don't have the books here in front of me. I'm having a hard time finding it online. I am not even sure that Duergar had enlarge
They
as
have enlarge.
yeah in third edition or
Oh, in third
before that.
edition.
Yeah, I'm not sure that they had enlarge as an ability. I don't believe that's the case. I've been reading a novel recently from that time period. Where and it's all dark elves. There's Duergar that are attacking them, and nowhere have any of them grown to a larger size in the novel. So
Yeah.
I have the
Well,
feeling that it's probably something they gained in fourth edition.
fourth edition they got flame quills.
Yeah, but well, did they get enlarged also?
No.
Oh, okay. So they just gained it in fifth edition, I think. Then,
Yeah. Yeah. In fourth edition they gained flame quills.
yeah, which you could tell how well that went over. It's
It went
not a
over great.
yeah for you and only you.
That was fine. They just shot flame quills out of their beards. Brr.
Yeah, Brr. Despite the fact that they never did that in any of the third edition shit, you don't get to retcon things like that.
Yes, you can because it was points of light. It wasn't Faerun.
Well, I don't know what points of light was, so
That is the Nintir Veil.
yeah, I don't know what that is.
So fourth edition, all the main campaign setting takes place in the Nintir Veil, which is like a different plane of existence that's not the Faerun.
Okay, so it wasn't Forgotten Realms; it's some other
No.
setting with Duergar.
Yes,
Well, if that's the case, all right, give them flame quills.
they have flame quills. All the gods were the same. They're still Orcus and Asmodeus and
Oh, all right, wow, real creative there.
It's like if you took Forgotten Realms and just did a control C, control V, and
Yeah.
said, "This is the Nintir Veil now." Okay.
All right. We're gonna make a few changes that we feel like making. They don't actually have to make any sense.
All right. All Duragog and Flame Quills. All Minotaurs. You're now not just a singular thing. You're a whole tribe. You eat the heart of your victims and you gain their powers. Drow, you just explode into shadows. We're keeping that for fifth. Okay.
Yeah.
Goblins,
Oh.
you're kobolds now. Kobolds, you're goblins now.
Wow. Things got real confusing, didn't they? So
Well, I think no, I was they had goblins had the ability to shift around, which is more of like a kobold thing, and then kobolds got pack tactics, which is more of a goblin thing. And then that just became the way things were.
yeah, I think that's still kind of. I think pack tactics is still a kobold thing
Yep,
in fifth in
and
fifth edition.
have the shift around thing.
I don't think they have. I don't think any of them had any of that shit in earlier editions.
Sounds
Uh,
boring.
so anyway, let me talk about counterspell for just a couple of minutes.
You mean
Since
mind
we hit
settler?
no, well, that's the better version of it. But let's just talk counterspell. I'm gonna give a little
Okay.
history lesson in the process of this. Uh, one, I generally kind of hate counterspell. You know, I don't necessarily hate counterspell for what it is. I hate the ease of counterspell. You
You mean the
you
ease?
the ease of it. You burn a third level slot to counter any spell, third level or lower. If it's higher than third level, you just have to make a roll, and it's a pretty easy roll to make usually, unless it's like a eighth or ninth level spell that you're countering.
Yeah.
Um, I hate the fact that if I go to cast something and then a wizard counterspells, I can then just burn my reaction for the turn and counterspell their counterspell.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it because that's just how rules is written kind of work, but I hate that. It's annoying. It's not fun. Not a fan of it. Uh, and I was looking back in earlier editions because I, honest to God, didn't remember Counterspell really being a thing in previous editions, and I cannot speak for fourth. I have not looked at it. I don't know what it was in fourth. In third edition, there was Counterspell, but you had to basically hold your action. You know how you can hold action in fifth edition to do things.
Mm-hmm.
You could basically say, I'm going to counterspell the next spell that this guy casts. And if you had the actual spell counterspell memorized, it would just counterspell it. But that was your turn. You just used your whole damn turn to do that. There was no reactions or anything of that nature. The
Mm-hmm.
other option was if you had the same spell they were casting memorized, you could burn it instead. So if they were casting Fireball, you could burn your Fireball to counterspell it. That was how third edition worked. First and second edition did not have counterspell at all. It was not
Okay.
a thing. But it had the one caveat of when a wizard casts a spell, it actually has sort of a time on it for how long it takes to cast things. And simple spells, like really simple spells, would cast kind of immediate. But if you were casting fireball, it might take it might be the next round before that fireball actually goes off. So if you take damage of any sort before that spell goes off, you're just interrupted.
Okay.
Just straight up failure. That was another thing about third edition, that you could also be interrupted by taking damage when casting spells, but there was a concentration check involved that you could succeed on. First and second edition, you take damage, you just fucking lose it.
Okay.
Uh, but apparently in chainmail, counterspell was actually a thing, and this is chainmail was the prequel to Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm not even gonna go into how that shit worked because I don't even know the rules of chainmail.
I'm pretty sure it involved a spreadsheet with some charts.
Yeah, I read how it worked earlier, and it didn't make any sense to me. So I'm like, I'm just not gonna bother. But yeah, I was just kind of fascinated going back and looking because a lot of the shit I had just forgotten. The fact that counterspell was not a thing, and I don't know that it really needs to be a thing, especially now with silvery barbs.
Well, silvery barbs is cool. but it doesn't stop the thing from happening. You know,
Yeah.
so it counterspell stops the entire thing from happening.
Yeah, but I'm still not sure that that should be a thing. Uh, it, maybe make spell resistance a little more prominent in cases like that to give advantage on saves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is kind of my own opinion, my own thoughts on it. But I don't like counterspell in general. I hate the fact that things can just be stopped cold. Period.
What if it'll stop warm?
Well, that's a whole other matter. That's a discussion for another time. We'll have to have somebody else on to help us with that one.
Fair enough. I mean, overall, I mean, I'm fine with counterspell because it burns a slot, and I mean, you do get a lot of third level spells. Um, Star Wars is interesting. When I know you kind of dropped, but when we got to the level where like we were counterspelling a bunch of stuff, they had the tech side and they had the force side.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
we had to have two separate types of counter spells. So we had to have a tech counter spell. We had to have a force counter spell, and that was actually kind of interesting because being that there was two separate types of magic essentially in that universe being tech and force,
Yep.
you know, we relied on that quite a bit, and it could just come out of nowhere. And that a force user could still have tech stuff on him, you know.
Yep.
So you could run up on somebody and just like, oh well, I ain't got tech counters, so I'm dead.
Yeah. Well, Star Wars was also a game where you could have multiple reactions in a round. Because
Yeah,
my character at the level I was at had 2 reactions per turn.
yeah, which is just weird.
Yeah. Yeah,
Just
I don't
weird.
hate the 2 reactions per turn as long as they can't necessarily be used on the same thing. Uh,
Yeah,
with 3rd edition D&D, there was reactions, but it was only I don't even think they called them reactions. It was just it was an action you could do if somebody moved out of your or moved around in your threat range, you could make an attack against them. But
yeah,
that was about it. There weren't really reactions. Definitely not like what you know in 5th edition.
no. But I like how the fifth works. It's simple. I wish they
Yeah.
would have called it. I wish they would have kept minor action, but I can't believe people got confused by that.
What the hell's a minor action?
Huh? Bonus action.
Oh, okay. They just changed the name of it.
Kind of, yeah. Um, they in fourth edition they experienced that people had a problem with minor actions when well, this more of a problem with fourth, I think, but people would like go out of their way to make sure that they always had a minor action to do every turn.
Hmm.
Okay, and they got frustrated when they didn't have a minor action available to them.
Yeah.
And when they made it a bonus action, there was a bit of a learning curve there, but it doesn't feel like it's required. And I can kind of get behind that logic, you know, where like you have your move, your attack, move, and minor, and like you're trying to figure out something to do with your minor action that's that could be beneficial. Where people in fifth edition, oh, I don't have a bonus action, so who
Well,
cares?
yeah, but it could just be the situation of they've given out a lot less bonus actions in 5th edition. Like
Yeah,
you always want to take a bonus action if you can, but I've played characters who just did not have bonus actions.
yeah. So I think that's a lot of it too. There was a lot of minor actions in fourth edition,
Hmm.
but I still think they could have called a bonus action a minor action in fifth edition, and it would have been fine.
Yeah, I mean, if they explain it the same way, I don't think the wording of it matters. Minor
Yeah,
action, stupid action, bonus action, whatever you want to call it, as long as it works the same way, it's fine. I'm sitting here looking at all the 3rd edition actions because there was all sorts of stuff. There was standard action, move action, full round action, free action, swift action, immediate action.
I hate all that.
Yeah,
I hate.
no, it got cumbersome. Swift it wasn't too bad until they added swift action, and that came around way later in the edition in 3rd or 3.5. Swift action was
Yeah,
not a thing, and then immediate action was not a thing.
But
Initially, it was just standard move, full round, and free action. That's fairly simple. That's not much more complex than what you currently
yeah,
have.
um, it almost feels like very Magic the Gathering-y, where
Yeah.
like you have all these weird, and that's like the problem I have with Commander. For those that don't know, like Commander has a breadth of all Magic cards from almost the entire
You can
Legacy.
play just about everything.
Yeah,
And there's 25 to 30 years of Magic cards at this point.
yeah. So you have to know all these keywords that were like maybe only in there for a set. Like I saw one yesterday that was split second.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like I don't know what that does, but like
Oh,
it's a
oh,
card.
yeah, and the problem with that, though, with Magic, a lot of the cards would have exactly how that works on it. But
Yeah,
then now we're at a point where they just have the word on there. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell goad even does. I don't know what this is.
right.
You don't detail it on the card. So now I have to Google this shit. I hate that. So annoying.
Yeah, and so like when you have like 7 actions in a turn and all like swift and immediate. So what happens first, a swift or immediate? And
Yeah.
like I'm sure there's a 3.5 player out there goes, "Dummy, it's just this." Like I get that you know that, but it's another layer of complexity that I don't think needs to be in a game.
Yeah. The only difference between the full round action and standard action, which I know you are probably not familiar with, if if you moved during a turn, I believe it was more than 5 feet, you could only take a standard action, and that's basically when you attack. If you could normally do 4 attacks in a round, you can do one. Whereas a full round action, you basically just don't move other than 5 feet, and then you could just do all of your attacks. That's
Yeah.
about the only difference between those two.
And isn't Pathfinder the second edition Pathfinder's like you have 2 actions in a turn
I have no
or
idea
something
what.
like that?
Yeah, I know
And then
that.
like
I know Pathfinder First Edition was basically just Third Edition. Uh, I don't know what their Second Edition is. We can ask the Beer Bandit Bruce at some point. But
maybe. But I know like the second edition, like I said, the second Pathfinder, there's like there are multiple actions in a turn, and people
Mhm.
were comparing that to like to 5e, um, and we're liking the 5e system better. But like even if you give me multiple actions in a turn and saying if you want to do this, this is going to cost you 2 actions, or you can do this which costs 1 action and this it costs 1 action. That logic is easier to understand than giving me a full round action, standard action, swift action, immediate action.
well,
Yeah.
what you're describing is action points from Fallout, basically.
Nah, not really. But it's just like, if you want to stand there and do your multi attack, well, that's going to cost you 2 actions.
Yeah,
And you
that,
do
that's
all of your
that's
multi attack.
Fallout. That's literally just Fallout. It's action points. Oh, okay. So you want to take an attack? All right, it'll cost you 1 action point. You want to take another attack? Cost you a second action point. You want to move? Well, for every 10 feet you move, it costs you an action point.
Well,
It's a
not
simple system.
really.
It's a simple system. I'm
Are
not.
you talking about Fallout like 1 and 2?
Yeah, like the early Fallout's.
Okay, because no, no,
I'm
no,
not giving. I'm not giving an exact. Yeah, this is what
no,
it is. But
no,
that's.
no, no one listening to this played Fallout 1 and 2.
Oh well, that's probably
Well,
not true.
right now we're playing Fallout 3 and 4 and New Vegas.
I never played Fallout 1 and 2, and I understand how that works.
So right now, the analogy doesn't work. Is action points is like a pool that only happen that you only use when you go into VATS.
Yeah. Which now you're yeah, I guess they might know what it is. Vats is just a weird word that I don't even know what that means, but I know yeah, obviously I know what it means cuz I played Fallout, but I don't know what Vats actually means.
So the next Fallout game is supposed to happen after the next Elder Scroll game.
I'm ready for the next Elder Scroll game. I'll get to Fallout whenever the hell it comes out, but I was always a bigger fan of Elder Scrolls.
I just hope that they take the Skyrim grandma and put her in the next Elder Scroll.
Yeah, I think you mentioned this before. I need
She
to
deserves
look
it.
this up.
That's all she does is play Skyrim
I
and
mean, there's
stream it.
worse things to do. Skyrim is a fantastic game.
You never play through the same game twice, but somehow you always turn up to be an archer. I don't know why.
And a vampire for some weird reason. I don't know why. All right, I think we've said enough. Let's get
Have
out
we?
of here.
We've only been doing this for 30 minutes.
That's not true. I think you mean an hour and 30.
Oh,
Okay, more like an hour and 20, but whatever. All right, we're out. Bye, Craig. Bye, guys.
bye, Craig.
Bye, Chris.